Last but certainly not least, I would like to leave the floor to Mr. Markus Woltran. He holds a master's degree in political science from University of Vienna and is now the program officer at the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs. For his presentation, he wants to change the perspective and take a look at the climate change from outer space. Thank you already in advance for your presentation and welcome on stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for the introduction. Thanks a lot also for the invitation. My name is Markus Woltran. I'm coming from the smallest United Nations office, from the United Nations Secretariat, with the biggest mandate, the Office for Outer Space Affairs. It's not likely that we are invited to events like these, so I'm really happy to present maybe a bit of a different perspective on climate change and climate action. We have heard, I guess, throughout the day the various approaches to how to tackle climate change, and I really commend the organizers to the title of climate action, because we are all at the same level right now that we understand that something has to be done together. I want to start off with the picture that saved the world. It's also known as the picture that saved 1968. All of us have seen the picture, and it was mentioned back then as the picture that saved the year, but over the time, I would say it has changed its connotation as well into the picture that saved the world, or will possibly save the world. Interestingly, also the picture impressively shows and depicts for the first time that the word Earth might not be the right choice of word for our planet. A planet which is covered by 70% of water. The image would capture the human imagination, and ironically, it could also be seen when Earthlings for the first time left Earth. 3 astronauts traveled hundreds of thousands of miles to look back and discover Earth. And similar, when we leave home maybe and we look back and we see what we're missing, with this picture, for the first time, it became clear how fragile our world, our Earth is. It was so far away that it could be covered behind the thumbs of the astronauts sitting in the space shuttle. It was the first time that it was a picture taken where you can see the ocean layer, where you can see the thin layer over Earth protecting us. Without the atmosphere, we might have similar conditions as on planet Mars, not livable. So for the first time, and that's why I call this picture, and why this picture is called today the picture that saved the world. For the first time, it became tangible and depictable how fragile Earth is. The picture was taken on December 1968, and it's called the Earthrise picture. Space exploration today is everywhere in our daily life. Humans were since the very beginning turning their heads towards the sky and looked in awe at the moon, and stars creating stories and telling and looking at patterns which are now known as constellations. The Earth was seen for millennia as the center of all of it. It's only a past few hundred years that we discovered that we are not the center of everything. The Earth is not anymore perceived as the center. The solar system, it's not seen as it has been in the past. We now know that the Milky Way is just 1 billion of galaxies filled with trillions of stars. And we also discovered that our 8 planets are only a tiny fraction of planets all around us. And space is there all the time. So on the one hand side, we have the wonders of space exploration, but we use space in daily life. Any action in our daily life is in one way or the other in connection to space. The reality shows that we use it every day, from the morning until the evening. Space has become a game changer, as the picture I showed you before. New technologies, also encouraged through space technology, have the power to make decision-making process as well as informed decisions. Addressing global challenges requires utilization of new technologies. Space has become a game changer on any level. And we, as the Office for Outer Space Affairs, and I have to mention this here as well, are in the center of this from the international perspective. We have the vision to bring the benefits of space to humankind, and our mission statement is to promote international cooperation in outer space. So how do we do that? So on the one hand side, the office is a capacity builder. We are providing access to cutting-edge technology, so that's not only developed world has access to these technologies, but as well we are providing capacity building efforts in developing countries. We are convener. We bring together member states to discuss the developments in outer space, and we are gateway to space within the United Nations. As such, we have started a Space for Sustainable Development initiative, and we found out in our research that over 65, so almost 40% of the 169 targets underpinning the 17 SDGs are reliant in one way or the other on space technology. So we, as the Office for Outer Space Affairs, convene countries that we all work together in using these technologies for the benefit of humankind. After years of expanding our knowledge about, it's partly thanks to space technology and applications that we have observed the concentration of greenhouse gases is growing in the atmosphere, with carbon dioxide levels surpassing thresholds not seen in the past 3 million years. In the last 5 years, we have recorded the hottest years on record. We have witnessed declines in sea ice, retreat of mountain glaciers, acidification of oceans, rising sea levels, and a growing number of extreme weather events. Just this picture from outer space shows us the development of permafrost in the world. And as we all know, permafrost is the ground level which is frozen for at least 2 years. And it's important not only within the Arctic regions, but as well within Austria. And it will be, the more permafrost decreases, the more landslides we will see, for example, also in Austria. So all of the agendas which the United Nations has currently on the high priority, be it the Sustainable Development Agenda, be it the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Management, or be it climate change, all of them in one way or another depend on satellite technology. Its applicability extends virtually to any sectors of human activities. We use geolocation to improve our transportation, cutting down travel distances and also cutting down, therefore, fuel consumption. We identify the best locations in the world through satellite technology to put up solar panels and wind farms, thanks to satellite technology and data available. Satellite unlock precision agriculture, bringing down the usage of fuel again, fertilizers, pesticides, and so on. In addition, through sustained, reliable, and timeless observation of Earth, thanks to satellite technology, impartial technology being there since centuries, we have learned the development on our Earth. And thanks to satellite technology, we can all sit together now and talk about climate change. Space infrastructure has therefore unlocked virtually limitless access to data and knowledge. And I think all in the room agree, since otherwise you wouldn't be here in the room, that it's time to action. And that's why I started in the beginning, I commend the organizers on calling the whole day Co-Climate Action. So what does space technology do? So without space technology, we wouldn't be able to observe many of the so-called essential climate change variables. It's 54 different climate change variables which have been put together by the World Meteorological Organization, and around 50% of these variables can only be observed through satellite technology. And what does the UN contribute to that? So on the one hand side, we have just 2 years ago witnessed the creation of the so-called Space Climate Observatory, which is an initiative launched by the French Space Agency. UNOOSA will be functioning as the secretariat. It's a consortium of world space agencies coming together to discuss how space technology can support climate action. And it's built on the understanding that it's important not only to start from top to down, but as well to build up from bottom up, to have experiences which is working, which is actions that are working on national levels, to be able to share the experiences worldwide and to build it up to the top. UNOOSA is going to be the secretariat. We are going to be the bridge of the SCO to the United Nations Secretariat. But what are the essential, what can be done with satellite technology? What is there? So on the one hand side, we can monitor and combat desertification and deforestation. We can combat illegal wildlife crimes. Degradation of natural habitats can be observed. Quantifying and modeling biodiversity, forest management. The list goes on in the applicability in agriculture. When we look at other examples, such as city planning, planning for energy consumption, managing greenhouse gas emissions, population and sprawl management, sustainable urban planning, all of these areas depend on satellite technology in one way or the other, making ourselves more resilient to climate change. Satellites can also be used for water supply management, for energy tracking in cities, urban growth, expansions as we move into centuries when we have megatrends that the world population is moving into cities. We can use satellite technology for water management, weather prediction, flood assessment, water management, controlling water quality and water supply. All of these applications can be done through satellite technology. And when we look at the Sustainable Development Goals, achieving zero hunger will require global action and will require support through satellite technology to, on the one hand side, monitor crops, livestock, forestry, fishery, and the list goes on. And then we have also the other side, and we all have heard about it. Probabilistic event studies show us that there will be an increasing number of disasters all over the world. And through satellite technology, we have the power to respond to disasters. We can mitigate on the one hand side by urban planning, but also we can respond to disasters globally. We from the Office for Outer Space Affairs have a so-called UN SPIDER program, which is the United Nations space-based program for information for disaster management and emergency response, where we go into countries, in developing countries, and assess the current use of satellite technology, and we will try to bring together the various stakeholders using satellite technology to address disaster management. These are just a few examples of what space technology can do for us. But when you look in, and it's obvious for us, and I think through the whole day you have heard so many different examples what highlights climate change, but there's also one dimension that it's still on the international level not going into the climate action initiatives and the climate activities. And when you look into this level, and when you think about why there is no real concrete action, there's different ways. On the one hand side, when you look at human psychology, it is that we are investing in something which we all won't benefit from. We are investing in something which we all have caused together, but we won't see the benefits in the future. It's just the human brain which is settled in emotion that we won't address it. But satellite technology can give us an answer to why we are doing it. It's not only for us and for this generation, but also the benefits for the future. So it will be important to monitor our actions. It will be important to see how have we changed the world in the future. Models and data which we can give to scientific and research can build on the data assumptions for the future. As I have the honor to be the last speaker today at such a high-level event, so many representatives and distinguished participants, I also planned my presentation on a more philosophical note. I've started my presentation with the picture that saved the Earth. It's not bad quality through the beamer, although it's not that well. This is the picture described by Carl Sagan, pale blue dot. It was taken by Voyager 1 from a distance of around 6.4 billion kilometers away from Earth. And in his book, and I'm starting to quote in a second, Pale Blue Dot, Carl Sagan describes this picture, its greater significance of the photography, writing, look again at that dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you have ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. the aggregate of our joy and suffering, thousands of confident religions, ideologies, economic doctrines, every hunter and forger, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilizations, every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived here on a mote of a dust suspended in a sunbeam. And he goes on by saying, the earth is the only world known so far harboring life. There is nowhere else, at least in the near future, to which our species could migrate. Visit, yes. Settle, not yet. Like it or not, for the moment, the earth is where we make our stand. It has been said that astronomy is a humbling and character-building experience. There's perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image of our tiny world. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with another and to preserve and cherish the pale blue dot, the only home we have ever known. Thank you.
A very big thank you to both Mrs. Gröben and Mr. Woltran as our last two speakers, and a big thank you to all of you who have so patiently stuck with us throughout this whole day. Before I draw this conference to a close, I just want to again extend our gratitude to our sponsors, to the City of Vienna, to RHI Magnesita, and especially also to Raiffeisenbank, without whose sponsoring this conference wouldn't have been possible. And I want also to remind you that if you have any more questions, some of our speakers will stay here for the following reception. So don't be shy, approach them and ask your questions. I'm sure they are more than happy to respond. And with that, I had the pleasure to be the very first person who stood at this podium this morning. I have the pleasure to be the very last. And I just wish you a very good evening, and I hope that you enjoy our reception and come back to DASICON 2021. Thank you.